Café and Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Reaoch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. And today we talk with Scott Ritzheimer. He's joining us from Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. He founded Scale Architects to help founders and CEOs identify and implement the one essential strategy they need right now to get them on the fast track to predictable success. So Scott, why is it that so many founders become disillusioned leaders?
Hey, Tom, glad to be here. Great question right out of the gate. And I've had this really unique opportunity of having to get to work alongside and walk with close to 20,000 different founders now, some of them in nonprofits, some of them in for-profits, and kind of everything in between. And when you do something that many times, you start to see patterns play out. And one of those patterns is this. It's that so many successful founders, as they're achieving more and more success, become more and more disillusioned with that success. They become disillusioned leaders. It leaves them asking the question, is this it? And so your question is great. Is like, why is it this way, right? One is because we have these kind of arbitrary lines. Like if I get to 1 million, I'll be happy. I'll get to 10 million, I'll be happy. And that doesn't exist. But there's a bigger, more fundamental issue. And to explain that, I'm going to take us completely out of the world of business for a moment, just to shine a light on it. So let's imagine I was watching football over the weekend, and this almost exact thing happened. And I tell the story all the time, so it's really fun. But let's imagine you're down by 4. You've got a couple seconds left. You got to get in the end zone, you know, in a football game, American football game. And so you know what to do. You know the play to call. You've run it 1,000 times. You've succeeded at it 1,000 times. And so you call that play. It's a fake to the running back and a toss to your star wide receiver. And again, you've done this thousands of times, but the difference now is it's not up to you because you're the coach on the sideline, not the player in the field. And so just the nerves, like everyone's a mountain of nerves. This is it. It all comes down to this. And so whether the center hikes the ball, quarterback gets it, fakes to the running back, and it works. Like the defense collapses on the hole and everything is going according to plan. And then you kind of pan to the left to look at the wide receiver and like horror of horrors, he's not running his route, he's blocking. And so you, without a moment's hesitation, you take off, right? Running down the field, clipboard goes flying, the headset goes flying. And I mean, they're going to do the math on this. I still don't know how it's possible, but somehow you not only get down the sideline, but onto the field, corner the end zone, make the diving catch yourself. And what you've done this thousands of times, and every time you've made the diving catch, what happened? Everybody cheered. But what happens this time? Silence. You could hear a pin drop. 80,000 people, and you could hear a pin drop. And so the only thing that's happening is these little yellow flags start flying in your direction, and men in black and white stripes start running at you. Right? What used to be the heroic diving catch is now an embarrassment to your team, a violation of the rules for success in the game, and it actually not only didn't help you win, it ensured your defeat. And while this is crazy, it would never happen in the sports world. I find it happens all the time, all day, every single day inside the organizations that we've built. Because what happens, the thing that we have in sports that we don't have for founders is that there are clear sidelines. There are clear positions that demarcate that the journey has changed. And so what once caused success, it's very clear to see the coach shouldn't be doing that anymore. The coach shouldn't be the one catching the balls. But how do you know when that that time has shifted for you as a founder? It's very, very hard. And so many founders become disillusioned because they're hanging on to the strategies of the past while piling on the strategies of the present. And it's exhausting, it's confusing, and it flat out doesn't work.
And at the same time, they're onboarding so many people that in the end, they wake up in the morning and say, well, they can't do it as I can do it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so what has to happen is there was a time when maybe that was true. They couldn't do it the way that you could. And there's a time for every founder where you got to just kind of, put your boots on and go to work, right? Mm-hmm. There's a time for you to get stuff done. There's a time for you to make the diving catch. But there is a time when that's not true as well. And so what I've done, the work I do with my clients, is we help them to clearly identify what stage they're in. You've heard this, you've been in the business world. People want to get to the next level, right? But if you ask, what is the next level? Define it for me in a word. No one has any clue what that means. And most of the time,
they never think there are levels in between.
Right, exactly. And if you were to really boil it down and get them to talk about what the next level is, it's not actually the next level. It's more of the current level. Mm-hmm. It's the current level better. And so what happens is we just do more and more energy, more and more effort, and we fail to achieve the success that would actually come so much easier if we understood what the essential strategies are for this stage.
And that's the scaling. So what actually you do, to start up, to found, to be the founder, that's day one. Really, the problems come on day two, or maybe in the afternoon of day one, right? And it's not the steps of on the levels that you mentioned. It's actually just it should be one continual ramp.
It should. And what happens is if you can recognize what's necessary at each stage, yes, it's a ramp. But the reason why I actually called it an evolution is for that reason. It's that you're constantly evolving over time. But much like evolution, there's this idea of periodic equilibrium. Usually to get past the breakers, to get through to that next stage, there's this extra push that's needed every once in a while. There's this extra letting go that needs to happen every once in a while. And by understanding what these different stages are, by giving them a name, by knowing when they happen and what stage you're in, you can give that little push, that extra 10% every once in a while. Let go of that extra 10% every once in a while. And that's where you take off.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think it takes more energy to let go than it does to push.
It sure does. It sure does. If you look at what's happening here, we overvalue the strategies and the tactics and the skills of the past.
So with 20,000 people, 20,000 experiments, success stories too in all of that, there's still more to come. It's never over. And evolution, it's never done, right?
Yeah, and it's so good because it brings us to that fundamental question that we're asking. If you find yourself waking up Monday morning and thinking, "Is this it?" Right? There's a good chance you're in that disillusioned stage, that disillusioned state. And the answer that I have for you unequivocally is no. This is not it. It's kind of like, have you ever watched a movie and then stopped about 15 minutes before the end? I was watching the Top Gun Maverick movie, and we got a call from our babysitter. It was my wife and I were out at the movie theater, and so it's like the point where Maverick's flying like all over the place.
Don't call me now, but somebody did.
Right? and if you stop the movie there about 10 minutes before the end, it's downright miserable. Like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong at this point. And so what happens when we reach this disillusioned leader stage, when we find ourselves asking, is this it? Is this really as good as it gets? And we punt, right? And we just kind of, I'm done. Either I'm just going to settle for I guess this is it, or I'm going to escape and try and get out. We missed the last 10 minutes of the movie. You miss the single biggest transformation that's available for you as a founder. And so for me, it's such an important issue, such a passionate thing, because I've seen so many people walk up to that line and they're just a step away and they turn back.
Right. And it's just one more step. Very good. Well, Scott, I want to thank you for being part today, and success on your 20,000 coming in the future.
I don't know that I have the energy for another 20,000.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But I appreciate that. I really do. And it's exciting. I absolutely love what I do.
Very good. So thanks again. And for our listeners, you can find more about Scott Ritzheimer. Scott is Scott, the last name Ritzheimer. Scott Ritzheimer. You find him on LinkedIn, and you'll find him at scalearchitects.com. scalearchitects.com, where you can download a free copy of The Founder's Evolution and also find his The Secrets of High Demand Coach podcast. Café and Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.